यस। तो लास्ट फ्राइडे ऐसे भाई पता है, ये वैसा लग रहा है मेरे चाचा की शादी हुई थी ना, उसमें एकदम ऐसे करके फोटो खिंचवा रहे थे।
वही चल रहा है ना।
हाँ भाई चल रहा है।
शुरू करें।
हाँ शुरू करते हैं।
सो कैसा चल रहा है?
अच्छा चल रहा है, बढ़िया। लास्ट वीक काफ़ी हेक्टिक था ऑफिस में।
अच्छा, क्यों?
हाँ, अरे मेरी प्रेजेंटेशन थी लास्ट वीक ट्यूसडे को, एंड कल रात को जब मैं सोने गया रात में 1 बजे, आई वॉज थिंकिंग अबाउट द प्रेजेंटेशन।
हम्म।
So it was a presentation to my management. Around 50 people were present,
हम्म।
and it went well. But कल रात को I started thinking about it. I started creating multiple scenarios कि what could I have done better. Maybe सामने वाले लोग मुझे जज कर रहे होंगे. I could have prepared more. So I started overthinking. So went up to 2 hours. I finally slept at around 3 a.m. in the morning.
Of course.
So if I divide overthinking, it can be mix of either thinking about past or maybe obsessing over future. So in that moment I was thinking about my actions which I did, and what are the different outcomes which I can think of in the future I can improve.
Yeah, so basically you are like kind of trying to control the outcome.
Yes.
By controlling your like different scenarios that you wanted to have.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like, we can't control that, of course. So that thing has already happened, and we try to control that with our thoughts. And that's why we always go in that infinite loop of overthinking. I think most of us can relate to that situation. Like, हमारे भी कहीं ना कहीं लाइफ में ऐसे इंसिडेंट्स आते ही हैं कि जब हम कुछ चाहते थे वो होता नहीं है. So we try to create different scenarios to reach that particular thing. So, like, related to that, I also remember one story of mine. So, like, there were friends of mine from our college, and we decided to get united in Rishikesh, and वहाँ पे we decided to go for rafting. So हम 4 लोग थे, हम वहाँ पे गए rafting के लिए, raft पे बैठे, and then at some point the instructor told us to jump in the water. And just to give context, like, मेरे को swimming नहीं आती बिल्कुल भी, and I was very afraid of waters, but he just insisted on us to just jump. So we jumped. There was this rope on the raft. I like cling on to that rope. So like when I jumped, मुझे काफ़ी वो डर रहा माइंड में कि मैं डूब रहा हूँ करके. although we had the life jackets, but still वो डर था. तो मैंने वो रस्सी काफ़ी टाइट से पकड़ ली, एंड मुझे काफ़ी डर लगा था. तो आई टोल्ड इंस्ट्रक्टर टू लाइक पिक मी अप अगेन बिकॉज आई डोंट वांट टू डू दिस. बट ही insisted again to leave the rope, and I left the rope, and suddenly like I went down and again floated up because of that life jacket.
Yeah.
सो लाइक वो सिनेरियो मैं जब भी याद करता हूँ, मुझे हमेशा इस चीज़ से रिलेटेड आता है कि हम काफ़ी टाइम ऐसा होता है कि हम अपने थॉट्स को क्लिंग करते हैं टू कंट्रोल द आउटकम और टू अवॉइड दैट सिनेरियो विच वी डोंट वांट. एंड like because of that we focus too much on one thing, and we focus too much on one particular thought, and we can't enjoy any other thing. So like you said.
Yeah, and this is like similar to what happened to me as well. Like I was thinking about one thought in my past, but you were thinking one thought which is gonna happen in future.
Right.
Yeah. So there's this book called The Chimp Paradox, where the author talks about our primitive emotions, which is similar to a chimp. And our brain always thinks of any imagined danger to a real threat. So it acts out and it creates multiple scenarios, and it does not think about any logic at that time. It simply acts and it tries to protect us in those scenarios.
Right, yeah. Like, and I think like in modern world, like most of our dangers are just imagined dangers and not the real dangers that we think of.
Yes.
Yeah.
And another instance which I can think of is last May I went on a date with a girl. Okay. It was a really nice evening. We had a good dinner, cozy vibe, and we even had a walk after the dinner. And next morning, I haven't received any text from her, and it might have happened to others as well.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I started overthinking. I spent my whole afternoon thinking that was I not good? Maybe I have overshared. Maybe she did not like some of my ways I have acted out in the date. So I spent the whole afternoon, and then I was like, okay, let's take a pause here. Let's write it down. So I do expressive writing. I took a piece of paper at that time. I wrote down my emotions, whatever I was feeling at that time. and it really helps me. So it helped me in that moment as well.
Right, like, and that's really interesting thing about life is like our life is full of chaos, right? Like we are doing this podcast right now because of many discussions we had in the past. So there are different outcomes we want, but for example, in your case, you wanted her to like you even after you went on a good date and everything, but she didn't text you. So you started thinking of different factors which could have led you to that outcome.
Yeah.
And of course, there's no end to those variables, and we start incorporating those variables in our thought process to kind of get to that particular situation that we want. And because of that, since we can't control that, we go on that in that infinite loop that we have, and that's why we tend to overthink. And I think that's the reason what I could think of right now.
Yeah.
Why do we overthink?
And there's this book as well, Think Like a Monk, by Jay Shetty, where he also mentions that thinking is good, but if you are thinking where there is no actionable outcome, then it becomes bad for you. It increases your stress, it makes you indecisive. So in that moment, you have to take a pause, you have to come out of that loop by doing few things from which you can distract yourself. For me, I do writing, and for you, maybe you can like go for a walk, listen to music, or maybe do some sketching, painting if you are interested in those as well.
Yeah, so that's really some good suggestions that we can have. And I think it's also important to understand that we can't just stop overthinking. Like it's very easier said than done. Like we all overthink in many different situations. So instead of like just trying to stop those thoughts, we can, for example, you mentioned take a pause, do different things. Also, it's important for us to categorize them. Just be aware of those thoughts that we are having. Let's say if I'm overthinking on something, I'll just categorize that particular time as, okay, I'm overthinking now for, let's say, 10 minutes. I can time that thought. And then I can just do that only. So that with time, I can overcome that particular loop as well. So I think that's also one thing we can do.
Yep. Very interesting. And I have read this fact somewhere that every person has around 6,000 plus thoughts in a day.
Okay.
So if we are a overthinker, then we kind of engage to every thought. So
I think then I do that a lot of times. Yeah, I think it was a nice discussion today on overthinking, and we had really some good suggestions from our stories.
Yeah, and I think it's raining outside, so we can go for chai samosa now, and overthinking बाद में करते हैं अब. चलो.
Hey guys, hope you liked our video, and if you did, please hit that like button.
And do subscribe to our channel, as we will be coming up with more such interesting topics, and we might have guest appearances as well in our future videos.
Also, if you want us to cover any of your topics, then do write them in the comment sections below.
Okay, see you. Bye.